Hey Ash, from All Things Dentistry, the place where we're passionate about sharing those unwritten hints and tips in dentistry. Well, I've been asked a number of questions. What burrs do you use and whatnot, and where can we get them? And, well, let's go over this. So I've got some burr blocks. I'm not sponsored by anybody, so we're just kind of rolling through it. And I'm going to go through some of the burrs that I've been using and kind of a few changes in the last few years just from experience, because life is about learning and changing. And we go over how to use these really specifically in our course at allthingsdentistry.ca or allthingsendo.ca. So go ahead and actually have a new course. I just want to mention that. It's called MB2 Hunter. So if you've got your basic techniques down, but you really want to kind of see some ideas about how to get into MB2 and go over some cone beams and how to read that, take a look at that course. We've had some great success with that. Anyways, let's get started. So I'm going to go over 3 different burr blocks. This is the burr block that we actually teach in our course. And I'm upgrading the course because I want to kind of step away from this. I mean, you can use it. It's great. It's just a kit, pretty simple. It's got your regular burrs. So that's one there. I found this just recently. There was a subscriber. Dang it, I forgot his name again. And they were talking about Comet Burs, the Endo Tracer Burs, rather than using our Muntz Burs. Because if you can believe it, Muntz Burs are, I think, about 75 to 80 bucks a pack, and these are like 25. I couldn't believe it, and they're just as good. Endo Tracer from Comet. I'm actually not sponsored. I'm not sponsored by them. So I was going to say something. I actually emailed them to see if I can get discount, and they never returned my email. So like, whatever. Anyways, and then they have a burr block. I just found this burr block. We just ordered it, and we'll go over kind of the stuff in there. I've never used it, but burrs are pretty much the same. And then this is a really special burr block, and this you can get on Facebook. So this is actually was sent to me by my friend Sunil, Dr. Sunil Natakar, and in his burr block, he has this fabricated. He's in Asia, so shipping it to North America is, I would say, almost impossible. The price. But Sunil's an awesome guy. He posts a lot in Style Italiano endodontics, great endodontist. And so these are a bunch of burrs. We'll go over that. And he also includes with that an ultrasonic chip that he uses. Anyways, let's take a look in kind of the changes and what we got going here. So the Dentsply burr block. So if you're starting out in endo, I'd recommend getting just a standard burr block for endo because it's much easier to kind of sort out what you want to use rather than just buying bags of these things and having them floating around. But with the Dentsply burr block, we've got a couple round burrs, a 2 and a 4. I'll be honest, I think I've used these probably 10 times in a decade. It really, you just use standard diamond burrs, whether it's a course like this for, say, getting into zirconia crown or more of a medium. Oh, this is the long here. Needed that. I was wondering where it went. More of a green burr. I don't know where it went. There it is right here, a green. And these aren't long. So you can see the difference in this burr block. I'm going to jump around here. This is the way we're going to roll this. So there's long shank diamond burrs, and then there's just regular shank length. And I find that you can see the difference right there. I find that the long shank, this one is not really useful for access. I've tried it many, many times being unsuccessful. But what it is good for is planing the walls. I don't use it all the time, maybe I'd say 5% of the time. So is it really necessary? Probably not, but it's a nice to have. So back to the diamonds, I don't really use the ball. I'll just grab a regular coarse diamond and whittle away on whatever I'm whittling. So that's been really helpful, that type of diamond. Now let me go to kind of one of the changes that I have been doing is using diamonds for anterior access. Now let me know in the comments. I'm sure everybody's doing it and I'm the last to kind of roll with this technique. But rather than, what I used to use is a long shank number 2 round burr, say for this mandibular canine. Check it out. 16% of the time, 2 canals. I'm just creating a new online an access course. Just we do the access and then we will finish the entire case as well. And it's on extracted teeth. So we normally use round burrs, and normally what would happen in dental school, you're taught come in at this angle, enter the house at this angle. But the problem is that if the pulp chamber is receded, you keep going through and you miss it. Or you see the shine of the rubber dam. Same on anterior teeth. You kind of miss it through. So what I think has been really important is switching the access. And I've been doing this for years with the number 2 round, but now what I've done is I've taken, what we recommend in the courses we teach is coming in at a long, entering into the tooth along the long axis of the tooth. That way you're coming laterally, but you're more apt to hit the pulp chamber rather than kind of accessing this way. But what I have learned and I've done now, let me use the long diamond. It's easier. I don't use this, but it's easier with my fingers out of the way. I'll use a diamond burr and come in at that same long axis of the tooth. So I'm going to enter in. I'm going to do the same shaping here to get that, standard shape of your pulp chamber. We can go into some micro sizes and whatnot, but that's not really the intent of this video. So I'm going to come in at the long axis of a tooth. And the beauty of using a diamond burr is that it actually cuts as you push laterally versus using a round burr, which just cuts this little round end. The round end's cutting, but the rest of the shank isn't. So you're kind of doing like this, and sometimes you end up actually aiming like this. So I've switched to using a diamond burr, and it's actually made it much more efficient. So keep that in the back of your mind. Let me know if that's what you're doing. So that's kind of where we use diamond burrs, and of course through porcelain. The next burrs are Transmetal Bur. I use that once I get into a PFM crown. It's nice because it's fluted, and it's got a crosscut in it. Let's see if we can get that there. I would say I use that maybe 10% of the time too, not that much. You can get away with a long shank carbide burr. And then we have our long shank carbide burrs. Use number 4 for molars and number 2 for premolars, and not so much anterior teeth anymore. But the beauty of these long shank burrs, and I had a question about one of our students on our course was having a problem finding burrs that, you can see this one's been reprocessed. Chuck that one, and we'll chuck that in the garbage. But in maxillary and mandibular molars, what Deutsche Musikant found is that, I'm trying to get this focus, from the tip of the mesial buccal cusp to the roof of the pulp chamber, it's 6 millimeters in depth. So we got our molar here. Oh yeah, we got extracted teeth just sitting around, floating around for use, fully sterilized. So from the tip of the mesial buccal cusp right here to where the roof of the pulp chamber is, it's typically 6 millimeters. And that typically, on most burrs, it's roughly 6 millimeters from the tip of the burr to where the shank changes. Now let's just double check that with these Comet Burs. I haven't done this before, I'm just doing it right now. Right in front of your eyes. Yeah, it's about the same. So to my student that was asking that question, yep, we got the Comet Bur block, and certainly it's good to go for that. So we use that as a quantitative measurement when you're accessing into these molars, maxillary and mandibular molars, because it can be pretty tricky. But what I've been doing is I'll do, there's a couple shorts I have about removing all the restoration. And once I get close to the pulp chamber, what I'll do is I'll actually switch to a number 2. And it just gives me a little more fidelity. Oh yeah, big words. A little bit of fidelity in terms of getting, making sure it's more of a pinpoint axis. And then I can switch to my Endo Z Bur, non-cutting tip. And this just rides along the bottom of the floor of the pulp chamber. Now, the key to this is that the pulp chamber has to be pretty open. If it's calcified or there's some calcifications, or if between the pulp horns, the pulp sections of the pulp, it gets really skinny, really thin, like almost paper thin. There's just a tiny little space on the x-ray. Not very effective, I've found. And it's been through lots of pain. All right, and then there's usually an X gates in here. I chuck that out every time, and then we just put we use Comet Burs, these long shank round burrs. They work just as well as Muntz burrs, and they're a third of the price. So you can use these for troughing. We use it for troughing. You can see we tackled the middle mesial in this one, and trying to find anything else. If you're wondering what I'm doing with this post, I'm creating a video about the Ruddle post remover, just how to use it. Using some ultrasonics to remove the post. That'll be in the course. The problem with that kit is that it's really expensive. So if you're not doing it all the time, I'm not sure it's worth your bang for your buck. Okay, let's go ahead and look at this Endocoma Burst. So I don't need to go over in detail this block, but essentially it's the same thing. We've got long friction grip diamonds, and the reason why I didn't mention they're surgical and long shank, so the head of the handpiece is out of the way. Then we've got shorties. I'm not sure what the hell those are for. I can tell you that I use electric handpieces, so this will be useful because I'll slow it down to remove decay. We've got an Endo Z similar burr. They call it the H29er Golf Kilo. And then they've got diamond burrs that don't have a cutting tip, so very similar to this. I haven't used these. I probably won't. I'll switch these spots out just for one of my regular diamonds. And then we've got diamond balls. Don't use those. They can be useful, but I find they burn out quick. And then we've got our Transmetal Bur. So pretty much the same thing. And the beauty of this The nice thing about getting a Bur block, I think this was $149 or something like that, American, is that, you know, all your Burs in one spot, useful. I'm not sponsored by them. And then in the same company, you can buy these Endo Tracer Burs. So these are the round Burs that I talk about all the time. Actually, these are the ones I talk about all the time, but pricey. So, and these you can get around the world pretty much because they're made in Germany and they sell them in through different places. And so what I've been using are the standard one I'll go to is the either the 08 or the 010. Great Burs. They make them. We got them in 31 millimeter lengths. You can buy them in 34 if you want. So go ahead and let me know in the comments. I'm super grateful for the subscriber that had mentioned these are available. So thank you so much. And then we're just going to go over Dr. Sunil Nadikar's Bur block. Let's see what's in here. Pretty much very similar things, you know, like we've got diamonds. They're very pretty. These are actually, I find these helpful actually sometimes. These the little endo ball ones. Let me know in the comments if you use these. I use them here and there. Actually, the green ones are really useful for cutting through porcelain. Oh, it's green too. For porcelain sometimes. Very helpful. We've got a long shank. Looks like a number 4 diamond Bur. That's interesting. Long shank. We've got like a 702 Bur, it looks like, which is good. I don't use those anymore. We've got some smaller shank diamonds. You know, pretty much can cover everything for any type of your endodontic needs. And of course, he has these fabricated on his own. So these are made. These are long shank Burs. Oh, look at that. They're Comet. Oh, you got that included. Nice. So this is a larger one. I didn't know that till I opened this up. And this is a different Bur. So this one's a little bit different, a little bit larger. So he's using common ones too. Cool. Had no idea. So that's a Bur block that he has on his Facebook site, so you can check him out. And then, of course, he uses ultrasonics, and that's a great alternative as well for minimal and very conservative dentistry or dentin removal, enamel removal. Anyways, last thing I want to talk about real quick is this tooth here, and this is just a heads up. This if you've made it to this part in the video, which I appreciate, we're going to be talking about this tooth. And if you're in the community, this is a tooth and this is what it looks like. Anyways, thank you so much for joining me. Subscribe, like, share this with your friends to kind of give an idea what Burs are out there and what Bur. You know, my question to you is, what Bur blocks do you use? Talk to you soon. Cheers.